either you've just got your offer to study medicine and you are waiting to start in September, or you are thinking of applying to medicine and are kind of wanting to know a bit more about what to expect in your first year, then you have come to the right place, because today I am going to be talking all about my first year of medicine, which I have just finished. If you are new here, my name's Lydia and I'm a biology graduate studying medicine on the undergraduate course in Southampton. So I'm going to be telling you all about my experience as a mature student on the undergraduate course this year, and hopefully it will give you some insight and give you some ideas as to what to expect. So I've broken this video up into 7 parts. I'm going to be discussing the course itself, exams, work-life balance, working part-time, being a mature student, Southampton as a place, and then at the end I'm going to give some advice and tips for those of you who are starting the course this September. So if that's something you're interested in, then stick around. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like if you enjoy. But now let's get into the video. First thing I want to talk about is the course itself. Now obviously today I'm going to be discussing my course at Southampton. Different unis will have different course structures. Although they're all probably very similar and follow very similar curriculums, I think you have to remember that all unis are different. The 5-year course at Southampton is systems based, which means that we learn based on different systems of the body. So each module is based on a different system. In first year you have 3 modules. The first module is Foundations of Medicine, which is a 10-week module that you do at the start of the year. It gets everyone up to speed, make sure everyone's kind of on the level playing field, and goes through the basics of medicine. It's very kind of biomedical sciences based. Definitely a lot of it is recapping A-level. After Christmas we go into the 4-week module of locomotor. And then first year finishes off with a 10-week module on cardiopulmonary. So basically what happens is within the kind of locomotor or cardiopulmonary module, we'll have pathology lectures, physiology lectures, pharmacology, anatomy, genetics, metabolism, nutrition. What else? Have I missed any? There's so many. What does a timetable look like? So here is a kind of average timetable from first year. I've taken it out of locomotor, which was in February. So the blocks in yellow are pre-recorded lectures, and those are the ones that are made available for us to watch kind of whenever we like, but the timetable gives you a slot where they would expect you to do it. It kind of helps you plan your day. But the orange ones were synchronous, so those were normally on Blackboard Collaborate. Blue is in person. So the things that were always in person were the anatomy lab and occasionally tutorial. That's what your kind of average timetable looks like. It's definitely busier than my biology undergrad timetable. We had like probably 8 to 10 contact hours a week, but I would say we were averaging 4 to 5 hours a day of things to do. So I guess that's very average though, because some days it will be more like 6 or 7 hours, some days it might be 2. It does vary throughout the year. So yeah, that's an average timetable. Some weeks were heavier, some weeks were lighter. It kind of just fluctuated throughout the year. So somebody asked how many hours I was studying outside of those lectures. I would say probably 2 extra hours a day, maybe a little bit more. It really depended on whether or not I had exams coming up, whether or not I had projects and deadlines to do. Especially in the first semester, I was better at consolidating at the end of the week, so I would do a little bit extra on a Saturday. That kind of went out the window after Christmas. I did get a bit lazy with that. I would say a few hours extra a day on things, whether that's preparing for a tutorial, recapping a lecture, or doing a part of a project. You're probably going to have to do a little bit more every day. So let's say 2 hours a day, but it really varies depending on the person and who you ask, really, because some people wouldn't do anything extra outside of lectures and some people would do loads. Where do lectures take place? So this year all of our lectures were online. Every single one was recorded online. Some were live, but I know in previous years lectures would have mainly been at Southampton General Hospital in the lecture theatres there, and a couple would have been on Highfield campus. Somebody did ask how I found online learning this year. I don't mind it. As somebody who is trying to fund a degree themselves, it helps me to be flexible. It is nice to be able to watch a pre-recorded lecture at a different time because maybe I had to go to work. The negative side for me, and I think a lot of people, is that you don't get that social side. You don't go to lectures and meet people. Some days you literally just sit alone and do your lectures and that's it. Obviously we had quite a few live lectures online as well. Those are normally in the morning, so you could get them out of the way, and obviously even though they're at 9 AM you don't have to get up and get dressed and get on a bus or go somewhere. So honestly, I don't mind online learning. At times it got a bit lonely, but other than that it was helpful to be flexible. Somebody also asked about placements. So in first year we have 1 placement. It is a GP placement. Normally you'd be spending every other Thursday at a GP practice and learning how to take histories. This year it was all taking place on Blackboard Collaborate. So about 6 of us every other Thursday would have a meeting with a GP who would teach us how to take histories, and then throughout the year we would practice, then we would role play, normally with each other within the group, and then some weeks we would have either actors come in and pretend to be patients, and sometimes we'd have real patients. So we did get patient contact, but not in the way that you normally would, and not that much of it, to be honest. I think we spoke to 3 real patients all year, but we've been assured that in second year they're going to make sure that all of our placements are in person. Just be prepared that maybe your placements will take a more online setting, because your first years you're not the priority, unfortunately, and I think that's just how it is at most universities. I think we were lucky to even get any kind of patient contact this year. Saying that, we did have 2 of our GP sessions on campus, which isn't the same as being at the GP, but at least we got to meet our GP in person, and that's when we learned some skills like using a stethoscope. So there were a couple of in-person sessions, but not many, to be honest. And then somebody asked about group work. So in first year there are 2 modules that run alongside the kind of systems modules, and those are called SSU, so Student Selected Unit, and the first Student Selected Unit runs through semester 1 and the second runs through semester 2. The first one is a group project that you do with 8 other people, and you make a poster on a topic. I was in a group making a poster on road traffic accidents. You spend every Tuesday afternoon on Blackboard Collaborate again with your group making this poster, and then at the end we had a presentation with some people who assessed our poster, and we had to present and answer questions at the end. And then in second semester we had another kind of group project, but I think it was more of an individual one where you worked with other people but you had your own separate outcome, and that was a creative project. I was in the group on AIDS, and we had to analyse a scene from a movie on AIDS. We chose It's a Sin from Channel 4. That one was slightly better, I think, because it was more individual. It's really hard to do group work over Blackboard Collaborate. It really is, because if somebody doesn't turn their camera on or their mic on, like, they're not helpful. So group work was a little bit painful this year. You also are kind of working in groups for your anatomy labs. Every few weeks we'd have an anatomy lab at the hospital, which was always a highlight, because obviously being online, this was our only time to really meet up with people. And you are put in a group of 8, you go into the lab, and at Southampton it's pro section, so everything is already kind of done for you. You don't have to cut anything up yourself, which, to be honest, I prefer. So we would go in and look at the cadavers in a group of 8, and we have an hour session, and it was really nice because I got quite close with my group. That was really nice, and that's how I made most of my friends this year. Somebody asked how intense the course is, and somebody else asked what the biggest challenge is. The course is definitely intense. There is a lot to know, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot going on. So yeah, it's intense, definitely more than my biology degree, but it's fun. Like, you're doing it because you love it and because you know you want to be a doctor. And throughout the year it kind of peaks and troughs. Like, there will be some intense periods, there will be some more chilled out times, so it works out. It's just, yeah, it's intense, but it's bearable. And then the biggest challenges, I think, for me were getting my head around anatomy. Still haven't done that, really struggling with that. Balancing a job, which I'll talk about later, fitting it all in. It is a challenge, but you get there, and it's not impossible. Moving on to talk about exams. So this year we had 2 sets of exams, one set in January and one set in the summer in June. The ones in January didn't count, they were just kind of like mock. They were a way of gauging whether or not you're kind of studying and what you were doing was enough to pass. So the January exams were not as scary because they didn't count, and they were kind of useful, to be honest. And then in June we had the real exams, which you have to pass to get through to second year. They don't count towards your degree, I don't think. You just need to pass, and the pass mark is around 50%. We had 3 exams. If you go back and watch my exam vlog, you'll see that week, which I've just uploaded recently. It was quite stressful. We had 1 long answer exam, 1 multiple choice questions exam, and 1 anatomy paper. This year, because of COVID, all the exams were online. At home, I sat mine right here in this spot, but they were closed book. I know some universities chose to have open book exams, which I think is better because we had no one invigilating us. Like, it's really hard to know that it's being done fairly and nobody's cheating. And somebody asked me how long I spent revising. So my January exams were the 1st or 2nd week in January, and I tried to revise over Christmas. The first week of the Christmas holidays I did pretty well and revised every day. The second week I just gave up. Christmas spirit got to me and I just gave up, and I thought what will be will be. And then coming up to the summer exam, I spent the Easter holidays recapping, so that was 2 or 3 weeks where I was revising there. Then in the sort of 4 weeks leading up to exams, I was revising most days then. So 7-ish weeks, but how much I was doing a day varied. So it could be a really intense day of 6 or 7 hours, or a couple of hours in the evening. It's better to sort of recap as you go throughout the year, so you don't end up with like a mountain of revision to do at the end of the year. And somebody asked, what happens if I fail? So I haven't got my grades back yet. If I do fail, or if anyone fails, we have to retake the exams in the summer at the end of August, I think. If you fail one exam, you have to retake all 3. You get 1 chance to retake. If not, you'd have to repeat first year. You need to get the pass mark, which is 50 overall in all 3 exams. Fingers crossed I've passed. Somebody also asked, how hard are the exams? I guess that depends on the individual, how much work you've done, how well you understood the content, but they were challenging. They definitely were cheeky with some of the questions. There were some really unexpected ones in the exam, but if you had kept on top of your work throughout the year and you were revising and, you know, you were making sure you understood things, they were definitely doable. Like they weren't impossible. The anatomy exam I did find the hardest, to be honest, because normally you'd sit the anatomy exam in the lab and they would have you going around different stations and pointing out parts on a body, but we had photos online, and I just think it's not as easy to understand what you're looking at from a photo, no matter how good quality the picture is, like they kept saying. Personally, I think it would be easier to sit the exam at the hospital in the lab. Okay, moving on to probably the biggest kind of pressing issue that people have been asking me about, and that is, what is the work-life balance like in first year of medical school? So I'm here to tell you that it's going to be okay. You will be able to have a life outside of your course. It's just about being smart with how you work. It's about being organised, making sure that you kind of get yourself a diary and make sure you're kind of blocking off parts of your day. For me, the only thing that fell by the wayside was exercise, which I know is really bad. I'm not somebody who is great at exercising. I'm trying to get better at the moment, this summer, that's my plan. For me, I would always end up sacrificing the exercise over the social life, the part-time job and the course. Yeah, maybe sometime things have got to give, and next year I'm going to focus on not letting exercise be that thing. It's important for my mental health to do that. I also have quite a long Easter holidays to catch up on any lectures if you do fall a little bit behind. Not saying that's what you should do, but yeah, I just don't want people coming into this to think that they have to sacrifice everything. You absolutely don't, and I feel like nowadays we're seeing a bit more of that. The only difficult thing I think is comparing yourself to other courses, maybe, I don't know. So it might be a challenge sometimes if your housemates seem to have a lot less lectures than you, and you've got like 5 lectures that day and they've got 1 hour. That's just something you're gonna have to get used to. Okay, so now I want to talk about part-time work at university / med school, because a lot of people ask me about this, and if you don't know, I am pretty much funding this second degree by myself. I'm getting a maintenance loan, but I don't get a tuition fee loan, so I need to find approximately £9,000 a year to pay my fees and get through medical school. So I have had to work part-time. I haven't got any choice, I have to. Also, side note, I do have a whole video on how I'm funding my degree, so I will link that below for any of you interested. This year I have been working part-time in a pub in Southampton. I started the year off working 20 hours a week, which, to be honest, unless it's a necessity, I don't recommend doing that. That's a lot of hours to be doing alongside university, but it was possible, it was doable, and I did it. I did it for 3 or 4 months. I was working 20 hours a week. Then lockdown happened and the pub shut, and the pub was shut from Christmas until May, and in that time I was lucky enough to receive furlough. So I'm in a bit of a unique position in that I received enough money to pay my rent every month for half the year. Yeah, I'm incredibly lucky that happened, because if the pub had shut and I wasn't receiving furlough, I really don't know what I would have done. If we focus on the time where I was working part-time, I was doing about 3 nights a week and then a whole day on a Sunday. It worked quite well for me because I was really determined to not let working part-time be a barrier to getting the work done, to having fun, meeting people. So I would get up in the morning, I would do my uni work, and then I, make sure everything I needed to do was done by about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then my shift would start at 6. So it did work quite well. It was a bit annoying at times. I definitely missed out on some social things at the start of the year, but missing out on social things saves you money if you look at it that way. It was possible, and it is possible to work but it's really dependent on your own organisation, going back to the work-life balance thing. If you're finding you're doing too many hours, it's important to be honest with yourself and say, right, I need to stop doing this many hours. It's important as well to have a job that is flexible, where you can move your shifts around if you need to, or swap shifts with someone. I think going into second year, I'm going to be doing slightly less hours. I don't think it is sustainable for the entire degree, but I think that right now and for first year it was possible, because you know, you're not really on placement, lectures were all pre-recorded and put online, so you could be flexible about your day. We are in a bit of a unique position at the moment, and maybe some of that will carry into those of you starting next year because of COVID. So it's about really knowing your own limits and what you can manage, and accepting that if you're working part-time, something's got to give. You might have to miss out on a night out, you might not have the energy to exercise like me. What I will say is definitely use the summer. The more you save in summer, the less you'll have to work during term time. But overall, it's possible. I did it, and I'm doing it again next year. Okay, next I want to talk about being a mature student in first year. I am 24 years old, and the majority of people on my course are 18, and there are about 25 other grads, so 25 mature students also on my course. A lot of people were wondering, do I feel included? Do I make friends easily? I won't lie, it's been difficult, especially with COVID, to meet people. There is only a small pool of grads on the course. I've made 2 really good friends who are graduates, and then the rest of my friends are actually freshers. The university has the Graduate and Mature Medic Society, which I haven't managed to get to a social for yet because they had a social and then we went into lockdown. There is that society there, so hopefully next year I'm going to be able to join and use that to meet some more mature students on the course. What I will say is it's really about putting yourself out there. If you're in a group project with somebody and you want to be their friend, you should just ask them if they want to go for coffee. It really is just about putting yourself out there and being brave. If you are a graduate moving to a new town, you might want to consider either moving into halls. My friend Fred, he moved into halls and he had a great time from what I could see, and he made loads of friends that way. Another good way to meet people is to find a house on Facebook and move in with people who are already in Southampton, who might not necessarily be freshers, they might already be students in Southampton. The best way to do that is definitely through Facebook. In terms of feeling included, I do feel included. A lot of the time I forget now that other people on the course aren't graduates, like I've just settled into the course now. Another important thing to remember is that this is a 5-year course. Over 5 years you're going to meet so many different people, and you might not necessarily meet the people that you click with in first year, but hopefully over the 5 years you're going to meet people that you click with. I did join the hockey society, the medics hockey society. I didn't really play any hockey, but I went to the socials and I had such a fun time, and that's how I met people as well. So even if you're a grad or a mature student, I would still recommend joining societies because it's just the best way to meet people. Somebody said, do I ever feel too old? Occasionally when it's somebody's 19th birthday, I'm like, oh my god, I'm old. Somebody told me I was too old for TikTok, but you know, I'm over that now. I'm not old, am I? Am I old? Look, sometimes, yeah, I feel a bit old, but then I remember that I'm not old, and you know, I see my friends who are also graduates who are similar age to me, and it's fine. I also kind of wanted to touch on comparing my biology degree to medicine. I am definitely finding medicine harder than my biology degree, but I've said a few times in other videos that isn't because the work is more difficult, the content isn't more difficult, there's just more of it, and I think you'll hear that a lot. There's just a lot to learn, whereas in biology it was a bit more focused and potentially actually more difficult content-wise at times. I found just medicine is more vast, there's more to learn. It sometimes seems like impossible, and people have said it is impossible to learn it all, you can't know it all. How do I feel like being a graduate on the course? Do I feel like I know more than other people? Absolutely not, because it has been 5 years since I sat my A-levels. Even though I did a biology degree, there are some things I didn't touch on at all in my biology degree. A lot of the physiology I hadn't thought about since A-level. There was a lot of things that I really needed to go over again, and that kind of first foundations module really helped me. Anatomy is also completely new to me, so that was a challenge. Although you definitely have an advantage being a grad in that you've experienced uni, you understand deadlines, you understand how uni life works, you're adjusted. It's still going to be a challenge. If you have a better memory than me though, you're probably going to be alright. A-level biology is just gone. Now I wanted to talk briefly about Southampton as a place. So if you were coming to Southampton, this bit is for you. So I love Southampton. I have a really big attachment to it, but I think that's because I've been here for so long, to be honest. Bit of Stockholm syndrome going on maybe. Southampton as a city is not the most exciting. There is not loads and loads to do, but there are nice places to go out and eat, and you will have fun here. Like, the vibes are good. Talking as somebody who was a fresher here 5 years ago, I had a really good time and I continue to have a good time here. I've heard stories from other universities about how competitive it is, and there is a little bit of competition here, but honestly it's chilled vibe. The city itself like I said, not the most exciting. You've got West Quay, the shopping centre, you've got loads of restaurants, you've got clubs, you've got the Common. The Common is really nice actually. That's a place that I kind of didn't appreciate until COVID, like the outdoor space. You're also about a 30 to 45 minute train from Bournemouth Beach. You've got Winchester down the road, which is really nice for a day out, and there's loads more restaurants and things to do there. You've also got the New Forest, which is, you know, like 20 minutes in a car and you can go and explore the New Forest. There's lots to do around here, and you're only like 2 hours from London, so it's really quite ideal location wise. And lastly, I really want to give some advice to you guys who are starting medicine in September. I think the biggest question people were asking me was, like, what do I need to do before I get to uni? How should I prepare? My answer to you is you need to relax. You need to enjoy the summer. The course will teach you everything you need to know. You are going to be full throttle the whole year. You're going to be working hard. So why not take this time now to just chill out and have fun? Although I know some people just really want to do something. If I was you and I was going to do 1 or 2 things over the summer, I might start looking over anatomy. I might start familiarising myself with parts of the body, systems of the body. It's helpful to know it, it's helpful to learn it, because there is a lot to learn in anatomy. So I guess if you want to get a little head start or build your confidence early on, maybe start looking at anatomy. Maybe get yourself one of those anatomy colouring books I always go on about. Also, I was getting asked, what do I need to bring with me? What do I need to buy? Do I need to buy a stethoscope? Do I need an iPad? All these things. Like, people were really worried about what to bring with them. I didn't buy a stethoscope till halfway through first year. I didn't use it until the last couple months, and even then I've not used it on a patient. I've just messed around with it, had a few sessions at uni using it. You definitely need one, but you don't need to have one ready in September unless you really want to. I would also hold out, to be honest, because in Freshers Week I know they give out deals and vouchers on stethoscopes. So I'd probably hold out until Freshers Week for a stethoscope. In terms of buying books, you'll be given a reading list when you arrive at uni, and I haven't bought any books this year. I have just kind of gone to the library if I need something and taken it out there. So I wouldn't buy books, really. I don't think it's necessary to spend that kind of money, because you might buy it and then never pick it up, and it's such a waste of money. Somebody asked me, do I need an iPad? I obviously love my iPad and use it in all my vlogs and videos. You don't need an iPad, okay? Not everyone has an iPad. The majority of people don't have an iPad. I love mine. It's not completely necessary. In fact, it's not necessary at all, but it is a nice addition. So I always say, if you have the budget for an iPad and it's something you think you're going to use, then yeah, go for it. But I really want to stress, you don't need one. Somebody asked what I wish I knew at the start of the year. First year isn't the most exciting. It's more time to sort of settle in and get used to the course. And if you're a grad like me, you know, I am feeling a little bit itching to get on placement and do more things later on in the course. I also wish I knew that it's not as intimidating and as scary. Like, there is a little bit of competition, but I think probably because of COVID, to be honest, I've not noticed it so much. Like, I've not met lots of people who I can like compare myself to, so there isn't really too much competition going on. Most of the people I've met have been really lovely, and I've been quite lucky, I think, with who I've met this year, because everyone's been so nice. I think another thing I wish I knew is how important it is to just have a day designated to relaxing. There was a period of about 3 or 4 months where I was revising and doing uni work, and I was also doing YouTube, and just I had a lot going on, and I just never took a day to sit and watch TV and like switch off. You may have seen in one of my vlogs, but I ended up having panic attacks. Please don't worry about me. I haven't really been having so many panic attacks now, but there was a period around March where I was having 2 or 3 panic attacks a week, and I wish that I had taken more time to care for myself. I think I wish I should have been more careful. Looking after your mental health is so important. It's okay to miss a day of lectures and just chill. It's okay. And I think I'm still coming to terms with that. Somebody also asked, do I need to buy Quesmed or KenHub? And the answer to that is no, you don't need to buy those things. You don't need to pay for the subscriptions. They are optional extras. Although I promote brands like that and I use them myself, it is an optional extra that can provide you with extra help. It's not the end of the world if you don't have them, and lots of people don't. It's just optional extras, and everyone, you know, whether you buy a textbook or you download Anki, which is free. So yeah, do not worry about that too much. Like, don't feel like you're gonna have to go out and spend loads of money on loads of different subscriptions. However, some things are worth the investment, that's what I would say. Right guys, I think I've spoken for long enough, so I'm gonna end the video here. Hopefully that gives you an insight into my first year and what you might be able to expect from your first year. If you have any other questions, please leave them below in the comments or message me on Instagram. And if you are starting medicine in September, then good luck. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!